Do you always feel responsible for everyone's happiness? Were you forced to take care of your parents as a child instead of playing? If your answer is yes, you have likely experienced parentification. Some people say childhood is the best time in life. A time for play, a time for discovery, a time for learning how the world works. But for some children, childhood ends almost before it begins. Not because they grow up early on purpose, but because life hands them responsibilities that is too big for their small hands. Today, we're talking about those children, kids who had to act like adults before they ever had the chance to just be kids, but carry quiet wounds from a past no one saw. Psychology has a name for this, parentification. But the experience is much more than that word sounds. What parentification really means. Simple explanation. Parentification happens when a child takes on adult roles in the family. There are two types. Emotional parentification. The child becomes a parent's emotional supporter. They listen to adult problems. They comfort everyone. They keep the peace. They become the therapist of the house. Instrumental parentification. The child handles tasks that meant for adults like cooking, cleaning, taking care of younger siblings, and sometimes even managing money or solving adult problems. Some kids experience both at the same time. And here's the important part. Many of these kids don't even realize anything unusual is happening. To them, it just feels normal. It feels like, this is what I have to do. How it feels to grow up too fast. Imagine being 7 years old and feeling responsible for the emotional state of a grown adult. Imagine being 12 and feeling guilty if you take time for yourself. Imagine being 16 and already feeling like you've lived a whole lifetime. These kids learn to scan the room for danger. They know every sigh, every shift in tone, every silence that means more than it says. They grow up learning to soothe others, fix problems, and keep the family from breaking. But while they're busy doing that, their own needs quietly disappear. When a child is forced to take an adult role, something changes in how their mind develops. Psychologists describe a few patterns. 1. Over-responsibility. The child feels responsible for things that aren't their job. Even as adults, they feel guilty if they're not constantly doing something useful. 2. Toxic independence. They don't trust others to help them. They think, if I don't do it myself, it won't get done. Also, they feel guilty or ashamed if someone helps them. 3. Emotional silence. They hide their feelings. They don't ask for help. They don't want to be a burden. 4. People-pleasing. Their self-worth becomes tied to making others happy. 5. Emotional burnout. Always taking care of others leaves little energy for themselves. These patterns don't come always from selfish parents or bad families. Sometimes it comes from illness, loss, stress, or circumstances no one planned for. But the effect on the child is still real. Why parentified kids look so strong on the outside? Here's the strange part. Many adults who grew up this way look incredibly strong. People describe them as reliable, mature, calm, understanding, independent, the one who never breaks. And that's true. They are strong. But that strength came with a price. Behind closed doors, many of them struggle with feeling overwhelmed, hiding stress, not knowing how to ask for help, feeling guilty for resting, constantly worrying about others, feeling like they're never enough. They're the adults who hold everything together. But inside, they're exhausted. There's a part of them, a young part that never got the chance to grow. This inner child is still waiting for someone to say, you don't have to carry everything. You don't have to be the strong one. You're allowed to rest. You deserve care too. Healing often starts with hearing these words not from others, but from themselves. How this affects adult relationships. Parentified children often face unique challenges in relationships as adults. For example, they struggle to feel cared for Receiving love feels uncomfortable. They're used to giving, not receiving. They fear being a burden. They hide their feelings, even from people who love them. They overfunction. They do more than their share. In relationships or at work, they attract people who rely on them too heavily because being needed feels familiar. They don't trust others to handle things, so they take control and then burn out. These aren't flaws, they're survival habits. Habits formed when they were too young to know any other way. The hidden strengths no one talks about. Still, it's important to recognize the strengths that grow from this experience. Parentified children often become adults who are deeply empathetic, emotionally intelligent, responsible, hardworking, intuitive, loyal, protective, understanding of others' struggles. They develop skills many people never learn. But here's the message they need to hear. You are more than your strength. You are more than your usefulness. You deserve rest and softness too. What healing really looks like. Healing doesn't mean forgetting the past. It means learning new patterns to feel safe. Some steps include 1. Learning to ask for help. Not because you're weak, but because humans aren't built to carry everything alone. 2. Setting boundaries. It is okay to say no, even if it feels unfamiliar. 3. Letting yourself feel your emotions. Your feelings are not problems, they're signals. 4. Resting without guilt. Rest isn't a luxury, it's a basic human need. 5. Reconnecting with your younger self. Doing things that bring joy, play, and peace. Things your younger self never had the space for. Healing is slow, gentle, and layered. It's not about becoming a different person. It's about becoming more like real you. Permission you may have never heard before. If you grew up too soon, you might need to hear this clearly. You are allowed to be tired. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to ask for help. You are allowed to need things. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to exist without earning your worth. You are not responsible for everyone anymore. The world does not fall apart if you stop for a moment. The truth is, you deserve the care you once gave to everyone else. Your story is not over, and now, as an adult, you have the chance to rewrite your story. Not by erasing the past, but by choosing a future where you are no longer carrying the weight of a whole family. A future where you don't have to be the strong one all the time. A future where you get to be supported, understood, and valued, not for what you do, but for who you are. If you're watching this and the words feel familiar, you're not alone. Millions of people grew up the same way, quietly, invisibly, carrying more than they should. And you deserve healing. You deserve peace. And you deserve a life where you are not always the caretaker, but finally the one who is cared. If you enjoyed the video, I would appreciate like and subscribe.